Boogie Nights, this is a review for Thursday. I'm already going to give an explicit warning on this because there's some inappropriate topics discussed in this video. Starts out in San Fernando Valley, 1970 in California, 70s in general. I don't remember the exact year. Jack goes into a club with Amber, which is another star in the movie. And it gets pretty interesting from there. I feel like this movie is a very good movie. A character named Little Bill is asking about like the filming of a scene they're going to do. And Jack meets a busboy after pretty much like looking at him from across the club, thinking he's like would be perfect for the film. So the films they're making this movie is adult films. That's really the main theme of this and what's going on. If you don't know, if you haven't heard of it, Jack asks how old he is, and he says 17, which pretty much personal questions about other things as well. And 17 years old. I wonder. Because right now, if you try to do the same thing, you probably have to be 18. I wonder if 17 was fine back then. I don't really know. Adam asks if he wants him to, I don't want to say, but if he wants him to do something. But, because I guess other people pay him to watch him do this, which pretty much other people pay him to jack off pretty much. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. And, Eddie's actually torn. He's the main character in this movie, played by Mark Wahlberg, on if he wants to quit for Maurice, who the club he works at is. He's pretty much like a busboy there, or if he wants to go in this adult film industry. Amber wants to talk to her son, but she's like doing a bunch of coke. Like pretty much, that's pretty much the main theme of some of the movie. And threatens to take the husband to court, which they later do go to court, and it doesn't really end up that good. I would say a great film work, great directing in this movie. Little Bill, one of the main guys, he's like one of the guys on set, walks in on his wife with another man, and they'll later bring up later as well. Eddie's home life is induced when his dad asks him about working late. This movie is very good. Eddie's mom asks him about going to school, like why he didn't go to school anymore and things like that. There's this other guy named Buck who's actually another person in the show. He's selling like speakers, and then the boss like really questions him about like pretty much saying that his whole country persona, he's kind of annoyed by it, I guess, but he does it in kind of weird racist way where he acts like he's supposed to only like this kind of music and not like country music, I guess. And I don't know, he just kind of does it in a weird way. Teacher hands out papers for students, which it's later revealed to be Roller Girl, but she actually walks out of the classroom because another student makes a gesture at her, which is inappropriate. And it was out of the finals, which is pretty much one of the last classes in high school. Eddie is getting with Sherilyn, and this is like a girlfriend of his, I guess. I don't really know technically what it is, but it's very interesting. Jack gives a message to Eddie by the Roller Girl to like really check out his, I don't want to say, but you know what I'm getting at. And pretty much to make sure that's big enough, I guess, for the scene. And Jack really wants more dedicated to be to the movie, pretty much want people to really sit through the film rather than just like go in, jack off, and then walk out, I guess. That's pretty much the main thing. And Eddie goes back to Jack's house. I'm pretty sure he just got kicked out. He later gets kicked out, which is very interesting. Jack says he wants to go in the business with Eddie and pretty much wants him to film. And they again at the house, Jack and Roller Girl start doing stuff together. And Jack is pretty much watching the whole thing throughout the movie. Eddie's mom is waiting for him when he gets home, assaults Sherilyn, and pretty much says she's not right for him, and pretty much throws him out of the house, destroys his stuff. And later on, Jack goes up to a pool party. He meets Buck and Becky, another character in this movie as well, and introduced to Reed, who's played by the guy from Winning Time. I can't really remember his name, but overall, Reed, I feel like he's a pretty good character. Seems like they would like go back and forth with each other about, I guess, who's better, and he says he's looks like Han Solo. There's this other character named the Colonel, which he's kind of interesting. We'll get into him later. Buck asks Becky asks Buck about his cowboy character and says it's pretty much played out. Maurice wants to be in a movie, and that's pretty much his main thing throughout the movie. Maurice asks who Maggie is, which I think it's pretty much Amber. I think that's really pointed out when it switches to the next scene and she's doing coke on the table. Little Bill walks in on his wife having sex with another man again. The Colonel, the woman he brought over, was doing too much coke with some other guy there and OD'd, and now they have to take her to the hospital. And the guy said that's the second time this week, and then the Colonel says you need to get new shit because it's pretty much bad, I guess. This is a very interesting movie overall. I recommend you watch it if you can. Eddie meets a character named Scotty. Eddie meets Colonel and says he needs to change his name, and he puts up money for the movies. That's pretty much what's going on. So he's pretty much the money man of the whole thing and really finances every film that Jack makes. And he actually tells him to pull on his pants so he can check out his dick. That's pretty much the main thing. Reed and Eddie hang out in the hot tub. It seems like they're getting closer and closer throughout the movie. Eddie finally decides on the name Dirk Diggler. That's his main name throughout the movie. So now I'm going to refer to him as that just because that's pretty much what he's really called for the rest of the movie. Jack and Little Bill talk about the script and the camera, pretty much working everything out. Dirk Diggler goes in to shoot his first movie. Dirk has to get and hype himself up before the show, before pretty much performing on camera. Dirk shoots with Amber and they go right into it. He wants to know what he needs to do during the scenes and everything he needs to do. Everyone in the movie is really on set, is really checking out his dick in the movie, which is kind of a funny thing. They show the movie, they change some of the films and then angles of it. Jack is impressed by the movie, and it shows everyone partying with champagne and buying clothes, which seems like the movie was a big success. Seems like he's going to be a future star. It's later cued on of what's happening or what's going to happen, and it doesn't really last that long. All this just says Eddie's doing the next move with Roller Girl and wants to do one shoot like in a certain way. He asked if he wants to do a Spanish accent, and it got actually good reviews, which I didn't even know they had reviews of adult films. I guess they do, and the magazine pretty much predicts him as a success. Reed and Dirk have a Bond type character. They pretty much create this Bond type character called Brock Landers, and now Dirk actually wins at the Adult Film Award 2 in one night. Best Newcomer, and then I think Best Actor, or he might win that later. He wins Best Cock as well. 1978. I feel like this is probably the changing point of the movie. Changing the year. Dirk does the movie Brock Landers, and Reed has a character named Chess Rockwell. Jack changes Reed's gun scene, pretty much takes him out of it. I think because he wants Dirk to be more of like a star of the movie and doesn't think it's that good. They had a party at Dirk's house. Reed and Amber says he won the Best Actor award, so that's pretty much what he talks about. Dirk shows off his new Corvette, which that was a very nice Corvette. They go for a ride in it, which I was kind of worried that he was going to crash the car. It was to end up bad for his career. Jack says it's the best film they've ever done, and Dirk wins more awards, 4 adult awards, now they're entering the 80s. The Colonel, we'll have to go back to him later. There's something that's really big's happening with him later on. Amber and Dirk walk in together to a meeting happening with Jack, and Buck's sitting there with a depressed look on his face. Buck wants to actually open his own business, like kind of like a Radio Shack business type thing, which we'll later see what happens, but something really insane happens. Amber tells how much she cares about Dirk, and she pretty much like makes him do coke, and that's really the down point of this movie, of what really changes and really changes the movie. They talk about the videotapes. So some guy who's also in the adult film meets Colonel and Jack and really like explains to him that videotapes are more of the future and he should get out of cinema and he should go straight to videotape, which back then videotape was a good idea to get into, and it seemed like a good idea. Scotty wants to show Dirk his new car. Scotty tries to kiss Dirk, which he's like the boom mic guy, and that part gets kind of interesting. I thought he was gonna crash his car, something bad was happening to him, but it didn't. They do a countdown to 1980. It's finally New Year's, and Lil Bill walks in on his wife cheating on him again, and this time he gets a gun and kills the lover and the wife, and then shoots himself in front of everybody, which that scene is really insane. Brock Lander's sequel movie, and being interviewed about if the movie is violent and misogynistic, and it's like a documentary by Amber. A lot of people saying he's the best, and pretty much she's embarrassed by some of the scenes of the movie. The Colonel actually ends up in jail, and this is very bad for everyone just because he was kind of the financer for the movies. He said he was like put in jail for being with an underage woman, and she was doing too much coke. She was 15 years old, and there was blood everywhere, which really screams the earlier scene when the other woman he brought around had blood everywhere as well. Was she doing too much coke as well? Becky and Jerome get married in 1982. There's a new guy named Johnny who they pretty much introduce, and Dirk's kind of jealous. He seems like he's doing too much coke, and it's the coke's not making him perform as well. Takes him a long while to get ready to shoot. He wants to shoot very badly, and this is when tensions get really high. And Jack says he doesn't want to shoot him, and Jack says to get out, and then fires him right there. And then pretty much Dirk does his like classic karate move. He's like does this stupid ass like Bruce Lee type move, but it always looks like shit. I don't really know why he keeps doing it, but he like tries to attack him there, and they have like a big meltdown with each other. He's recording a music demo in 1983, and it's horrible. It's literally the worst thing I've ever seen. I wish they would have had it auto-tuned to this because it's so bad. They pretty much like bossed a producer around. Don't want to really listen to him. It's him and Reed really recording this. Johnny's now shooting with Amber, and everyone's really now doing coke, it seems like. Roller Girl also is doing coke as well. Buck tries to put in a loan, and it kind of goes interesting. Johnny does a knockoff Dirk Diggler movie, and I don't know, it doesn't really go that well. Amber misses Dirk and her kids, which she does have a kid in this show, and later on she tries to get custody of the kid, and it really doesn't work out. Dirk and Reed can't pay for the tapes. They want the tapes so they can give it to the record company, which the record company would laugh them out of the room if they came with those kind of tapes. And Dirk really wants to get signed to a record company. That's pretty much the main thing, which I don't think he ever would. Buck Stereo, he's denied because he's a pornographer, I guess. That's what the guy said, which I don't really get how that really follows him around in every aspect of life. Like, it's not like he's like using the bank's finance for that. You obviously would have to go somewhere else, but kind of interesting. Jack walks into like a sea of VHS tapes, which kind of means he finally came around to everything about the VHS tapes and realizes how profitable it could be. So at first he said that pretty much that tape looked like VHS and non-cinema tape looked like shit, and it's not that good, which I don't know. Do you like tape or digital more? I honestly like the look of digital more. Jack realizes Johnny is a terrible actor, and he pretty much has no finesse or swag at all. That's pretty much the main thing. Amber needs a lawyer to get her kids back, and that's in my opinion. She goes in the courtroom with the guy, and it just doesn't go well. She represents herself, which is never a good sign. You should never represent yourself if you don't have legal, like, if you're not a lawyer. You should never do that, and it's just a bad idea. And he pretty much says that he's in a bad, she put the kids in a bad situation. She disagrees with that though. 1983 December, Miss Roller Girl and him, Jack, are doing an experiment looking for a young stud, I guess that's what they say, which it reminds me of something else that goes on a day. I don't want to say what it is, but they pretty much do the same thing. They like go around looking for people to be with, which it was an OG version of that, which in my opinion it's fake, obviously, because if it was real they would get disease, obviously. And the guy actually asks if she knows Roller Girl and says like her name something, and it's very interesting. So on the other side of town, Dirk is eating, and he gets picked up by some guy who says he wants to watch him jack off pretty much. And Dirk actually said he wanted to do this earlier when Jack pretty much talked to him earlier in the movie. He said he did the same thing earlier, so seems like something he did for money and once in a while. And the guy actually attacks him. Like a bunch of guys come up and attack him. Very interesting overall, and they're sort of shouting a bunch of homophobic slurs at him. That's pretty much the main thing that happens. And pretty much the guy, he's really just doing a horrible job, not getting the camera angles right, not listening, going too hard, I guess, not really doing it good enough. So then Jack just pretty much attacks the guy. That's the main thing. And Buck goes to a donut shop, and something bad happens when he's inside in the donut shop. I thought something was bad happened. I thought the guy in the red cap in the movie was going to be racist and maybe attack Buck, but that didn't end up happening. Someone robs the donut shop, and the robber some guy pulls out a gun and shoots the robber, and then the robber shoots the employee in the head, and then Buck actually steals the money, and it gets him the money for the radio shop, which is a very good thing. Then there's a guy named Raheed Jackson. He's like a lot of drugs, pretty much. Todd, he's another character. I forgot to mention him. He's like some sort of adult dancer in this movie. He tells Dirk that they're going to set him up and give him fake drugs. Dirk and Reed go over to his house. They walk up to his door. I'm kind of getting a bad feeling about this. They get in Raheed's house. They want the drugs. Todd says the price is $5 grand, and they give him pretty much bad product. And Todd says or Reed actually says that the security guard has a gun in his thing, like pretty much a holster in there, and I guess he has a gun as well. Dirk and Reed actually want to go with the car because they're realizing something bad's to happen. Raheed gets a gun out. It's dancing, like pretty much like running around. Then there's some other guy just like throwing firecrackers. He's playing all this movie, like all this music, and has all of these like tapes out. I don't really know why he was so obsessed with like having these tapes. I guess it was like a older version of having a playlist. I guess it could be a good idea. Reed and Dirk really want to leave, and that's pretty much the main thing. Todd wants to stay and get something else as well. He's like asking about some safe in the master bedroom, and then Todd gets shot, and the security guard pulls out a gun, and Todd shoots him and kills him, and then Raheed actually pulls out a shotgun and shoots Todd and kills him. Reed and Dirk run away. Dirk actually gets in the car, and Reed like just runs into like another driveway and decides not to really get him after that. Dirk walks into Jack's house, asks for help, hugs him, and apologizes. Jack apologizes well finally, which they should have done. Realize that Johnny wasn't a very good actor to begin with. He was horrible and very shitty. So overall, Dirk and Jack should have really not let everything get in the way of everything. It seemed like the drugs and the coke and the success really made everything go down. Seems like some of the time when people get too successful, it really plagues them. Buck finally got a stereo, like I said, stereo store, and that's very interesting. And this is just an overall good movie. The Colonel gets his ass beat in the prison, which is pretty funny. The club is actually renamed to the Rodriguez Brothers. And Reed becomes a magician, which kind of surprises me. Actually, it doesn't, because he actually said that early in the movie. Buck becomes a dad and has a son. Jack has a picture of Little Bill on in his house, which is kind of interesting. Even at the end, even though he did some pretty bad stuff by killing his wife and the lover, and pretty much he still thought him as a friend at the end, I guess. Amber and Jack are still close. Are they romantic? I don't really know. Very interesting question to ask. They feel like they have some sort of love with each other, but I don't know if it's really like marriage type love. It could just they have an infatuation for each other. It could be like that. They're back performing movies. Brocklanders, another movie of that. Very good movie overall. I would say a 9.7 out of 10. A very good movie. I would say probably one of the best I've seen on this channel, to be honest. I would say the next one I might do might be Taxi Driver. I might review that movie. A lot of people have been talking about it. Is it overrated? I feel like The Joker definitely took a lot of inspiration from that film, but this is probably going to be the end of the video, and goodbye.